Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some incredibly fascinating source material that breaks down the mechanics of attraction. And I mean literally breaks it down into a structural model. We're looking at La Escalera, the staircase. We're going to treat desire not as some mysterious magical spark, but as a literal mechanical structure. So let's jump right in and look at exactly where these interactions silently collapse. Right off the bat, we have to tackle this massive paradox. Why is it that men who do everything right on paper still face these sudden, unexplained collapses in their dating lives? You know the archetype, right? He has a great career, he's fit, his aesthetic is totally dialed in, he's polite, he checks literally all the boxes society tells us matter. But then the interaction just falls apart. Well, the source material argues that he isn't actually missing a specific personality trait. What he's lacking is an understanding of structural design. He's breaking a mechanical rule without even realizing it.
Take a look at this quote. True connection is not coinciding in the same place, but on the same level. It's such a profound concept because two people can occupy the exact same physical space. They talk every day, they grab dinner, they even share intimacy, and yet they completely miss each other. Why? Because connecting really isn't about horizontal proximity. It's about vertical alignment. If one person is doing all the heavy lifting to climb, while the other is just standing firmly on the ground floor, they're never actually going to meet.
And that brings us to the core metaphor of today's explainer, La Escalera, or the staircase. Now, I really want you to visualize this. It's not just some cute motivational saying about meeting halfway. It is a literal mechanical model. For a successful encounter to happen way up at the top, both people have to move, both have to climb. They both have to invest something, whether that's time, energy, ego, or emotion. If you're trying to sprint up that staircase all by yourself while she's just hanging out at the bottom, absolutely zero value is being generated. What isn't earned simply isn't valued. But the real question is, how exactly do they climb? Let's look at how this builds, because this is where the mechanics get highly specific. The model asserts that yes, both people must climb, but they definitely don't do the same job. On one side, we have the dynamics of architecture. The man is the architect and the builder. He constructs the steps, he initiates, he makes the plans, he sets the direction. And on the other side, the woman is the inspector. She evaluates the step he just built, and she decides if it's sturdy enough to risk her emotional effort and safety to step onto it. It's an asymmetrical investment, sure, but when designed correctly, it holds the exact same structural weight. So, what happens if we try to flip that dynamic? What if he just sits back and waits for her to lead? Well, when a woman is forced to construct those steps, when she has to initiate the texts, plan the dates, and constantly push the momentum forward, the whole structure just breaks. I mean, initially she might feel a bit of control, but that very quickly fades into pure exhaustion. And eventually, deep resentment. She's being forced into this builder role that she subconsciously expects him to take on. By refusing to build, he proves he can't lead, and attraction fundamentally requires that leadership. Now, to keep her climbing, the builder has to provide something absolutely essential, which the model calls el marco, or the frame. Think of this as the handrail of our staircase. Imagine you're climbing this incredibly high, narrow, avant-garde staircase, but there's no handrail. You'd be absolutely terrified, right? You'd hesitate before taking every single step. But with a firm, solid handrail to hold onto, you climb with confidence. The man's frame, his behavioral solidity, his clear intentions, his emotional stability, is that handrail. It provides the psychological safety she needs to risk going higher. If he gets insecure or constantly changes his personality just to please her, that handrail starts shaking, and her body will naturally refuse to take another step. Okay, so how do you actually build a single step? It's a continuous mechanical loop bound by 4 strict rules. 1. Generate attraction. This is your primary currency. 2. Propose. You offer the next step, like suggesting a change in venue or throwing out a clear invitation. 3. Read the response. Is it an enthusiastic yes or a hesitant, polite agreement? And 4. Ascend if she's enthusiastic or rebuild your attraction if she's not. If you skip any part of this sequence, like proposing before you've generated enough attraction, you cause an instant structural failure. You're basically asking her to step onto a stair that literally does not exist yet. And that brings us to the engine powering those steps, hoops theory. Essentially, every proposal you make is a hoop you're asking her to jump through. It could be tiny, like asking her to hold your drink, or it could be huge, like inviting her on a weekend trip. Every time she passes a hoop, her psychological investment in the interaction deepens. But listen, here is the absolute strict warning from the source. Never propose a rejected hoop twice. If she declines a coffee invitation, asking her for coffee again next week signals pure desperation. It proves you have no other options and no other resources to build a different kind of step. Let's explore the different types of steps, because not all stairs are constructed from the same material. The model maps out 3 distinct types of steps, and each one needs a unique currency. Emotional steps require connection and vulnerability. Logistic steps, like making plans and actually sticking to them, require trust and consistency. And physical steps? Those require desire and tension. You cannot use emotional connection to buy physical desire. It's a massive design flaw that leads straight to stagnation. All 3 of these currencies have to be deliberately built up in parallel to keep the entire structure sound.
Which reveals the real secret behind that physical currency. La atracción vive del desafío, y el desafío vive de la duda. Attraction lives on challenge, and challenge lives on doubt. This is the invisible thread running through the entire staircase. A precise, carefully calculated amount of doubt acts as the oxygen that keeps the engine of desire running. Think about it. If she is entirely certain that she has completely won you over from minute 1, the challenge evaporates. And without a challenge to conquer, the motor simply shuts off.
Following up right on that thought, total availability kills tension, period. If you are always there, always replying instantly, always offering these grand declarations of affection early on, you extinguish the spark. You turn what should be a thrilling, suspenseful conquest into a completely boring administrative formality. Desire inherently requires a very delicate balance. It's the possibility that she could have you mixed with the reality that she doesn't fully have you yet. Understanding how eager overinvestment destroys everything is absolutely crucial. Just look at this timeline of collapse. Day 1, you have a great initial spark. Day 3, the man gets way too excited and brings expensive gifts or makes heavy romantic declarations. Day 5, she pulls away completely. Total structural collapse. Why did this happen? Well, visually, imagine placing an incredibly heavy stone block from a cathedral onto a base made of flimsy cardboard. You simply haven't built enough steps to support the sheer weight of that gesture. You crush the very foundation you were trying to build on. This leads us right into the illusion of investment, which actually aligns perfectly with the sunk cost fallacy in psychology. People fall in love with what they themselves invest in. They do not fall in love with what is handed to them for free. A man trying to buy the top of the staircase by doing all the work is actually robbing the woman of the exact mechanism that creates a deep bond, her own investment. By making it entirely too easy, he accidentally makes himself entirely unappealing. But what happens when she pushes back? The model introduces tests of congruence. Remember the handrail? Well, as she climbs higher, the stakes get higher. Subconsciously, she needs to know if this architect is actually as solid as he portrays himself to be. So she tests him. She might become suddenly distant, make a provocative comment, or act completely unreasonable. What she's doing is literally shaking the handrail to verify its structural integrity. And if you panic, the handrail breaks. So how do you survive the shake? The rules are absolute here. Do not explain yourself. Do not get defensive, and do not pursue her anxiously when she takes a step back. You must maintain the frame. Look, when she pulls back and you desperately chase her with a barrage of messages, you are proving that she controls your emotional state. You're proving the handrail is weak. Staying calm, holding your ground, and allowing her the space to resolve her own internal resistance, that is how you pass the test.
All of these mechanics culminate in the ultimate difference in how interactions actually feel. We call this the final stance. You can say the exact same words, let's get a drink on Thursday, but the underlying energy changes everything. If you operate from scarcity, that invitation feels like pleading disguised as a proposal. It repels. But if you operate from abundance, knowing you have a rich life, options, and purpose regardless of her answer, it becomes a calm, firm selection. And that magnetic pull of true abundance cannot be faked. It really has to be built in your actual life.
We've reached the top of our climb today, and I want to leave you with the absolute zenith of this mechanical model. The truest form of the frame, the handrail, and the ultimate source of attraction is all wrapped up in one single powerful question. Are you truly willing to walk away from a broken staircase? If a woman disrespects your boundaries, gives terrible effort, or the structure is simply failing, do you have the abundance and self-respect to simply stop building and walk away? Because the great irony is, only the man fully willing to walk away has the structural integrity required to make her want to climb. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep analyzing those structures around you.